and welcome to another episode of the IIA Podcast. Today, we have with us Harry Croydon, who's the COO at MIC Global. Harry, welcome on this podcast.
Welcome to you. Welcome to all your guests as well.
Thank you so much, Harry. So, Harry, let's quickly start by you introducing MIC Global to us.
Cool. Yeah, glad to do that. So, MIC Global, we are an embedded microinsurance company. So we focus on small, highly scalable insurance products that are typically embedded into other people's processes and other people's products, our clients' products. We operate out of India. Our operations center is in India, and we're very proud of that. We've got a very long relationship with India, so that's been really exciting for us. And then we operate our sales are in India, Middle East, and across the Americas, with a big focus on the Americas. We have a couple of core products. One is around we call it My Income. It's a bit of a riff on MIC with MI. So My Income. And this is about income protection, as we think this is a core need globally, that people are always looking to protect their income in many different forms. So we're sort of focused on that product. We sort of see ourselves as an insurance company first, but we're a tech-enabled insurance company, and I think that's a rarity. There's insurance companies with a technology department, IT in the basement somewhere. There's Insurtechs who know a little bit about insurance, but not, and they got aspirations to change the industry with little or no knowledge about the insurance industry. And we fit kind of right in the middle there with, being a tech-enabled insurance carrier who've got both these expertise on either side. And we carry our own risks, so we don't invite other. We do partner with other insurance carriers, to grow our capacity. But typically, we start off with 100% insuring the risks as well as developing all the tech for it as well. So that's a little bit about us.
That's great, Harry. So, Harry, what I can understand is you work largely, your company works largely in the space of embedded insurance. Yeah. And that's where I think we'll make this podcast a little more exciting by having your thoughts around how can we use embedded microinsurance for closing India's protection gaps. And there I want to ask you a very specific question, is how does tech and insurance work together to really help solve this? What are your thoughts about it, and how can your company, or what is your company doing, which really would help us in this area?
Yeah. So I think the insurance protection gap is sort of defined by the percentage of kind of GDP, if you like, of insurance that is sold. So I think in India it's 1 or 2 or 3%, depending on who you ask, of the GDP is put to insurance, and a country like America, it's like 11%, 12%, and even in America there's masses of people that aren't insured. So the protection gap in India, you can say that whatever the insurance industry is worth in India, it could be doubled, and that would get it to sort of 3 or 4%. It could be trebled, it could be quadrupled. It can grow massively in India, insurance. People don't buy or don't have home insurance typically. They don't have car insurance. People drive around without insurance. People have bicycles that aren't insured. People have phones that aren't insured. People's lives aren't insured. There's a massive protection gap in India. And, firstly, why do people want insurance? Because stuff happens. And it's nice to have that little savings plan that gets you out of a mess when something happens. So insurance is a good idea, and that's where people need to be sort of focused on. So having defining the insurance protection gap as like a percentage of GDP is a kind of a reasonable place to start. So when you think about it, how is that insurance going to be sold? Doesn't matter what insurance it is, particularly. Is it going to be, the choice is you get a few million people to knock on everybody's door and start selling them insurance like they used to do in the old days, and going, round and round, and millions of agents and selling to millions of people? Or is it going to be some sort of technology-led thing that happens? Well, I would say to you, in India, in order to grow the insurance, globally, across India, is going to be based on insurance somehow. So insurance isn't going to play a part. It's going to be the fundamental part of distributing the insurance. The technology, you have to have a technology-enabled strategy for insurance. If you haven't, how's it going to get out there? In truth, it's going to be really slow. It's never going to happen. It's just, not going to get there. And really, the insurance, as people's lives change and get more complicated and grow, and people go more digital and all this, insurance needs to catch up in order to do that. So, technology is going to play a massive role, and it has to play a massive role inside the insurance. But it won't work as well if the technology people don't understand the insurance. So, there's a hand-in-glove process that the insurance industry, the insurance carriers, the insurance players also have to understand how technology works. So it's no point developing a product we go, well, we first sell it through agents. And then, of course, it's slow to sell. It takes a lot of training. It goes on and on and on. And then they go, oh, well, that didn't really work. Well, it didn't work because you didn't do it as an embedded product to get on with in the first place. So you have to develop these things that are embedded. And then it's not any good selling the policy as an embedded policy, product, without having the claims process as automated as possible. So how do you prove something's happened, through technology? So how do you ensure that, the fraud, people, it's not just a gaming machine, if you like, to allow people to take money out of the insurance company? So you have to think about all these little processes and build, good sound technology and processes around that, so that the technology can support it, and the people actually get a useful product that, in the end of the day, that they want. Because if they don't want the product, they're not going to buy it, and that was all a waste of time. So, so that's really, I think, how does technology play a role? Firstly, it will be on technology. That's the only way it can grow across India. And I think, and it's up to the technology and insurance people to come, closer together and tech enable the actual insurance product, and then build the technology around that product, to sell it. And then hand in hand with that, the government, if you like, or the big insurance carriers and the press and all that education machine needs to get out there and start telling people that insurance is a good thing to have, for people. It protects your home, it protects your family, it protects your small business, it protects your life. This is what it's for. And the unfortunate thing about insurance, it's kind of an odd product that if you sell it to 100 people, only 1 people will use it, because that's the person with the claim. That's like the odds. You don't write insurance products where 99 people can claim, because that's not insurance. You're giving them, you understand that, so not everybody has a crash every day they go out in their car. Well, hopefully not. But, the once in, hopefully, a lifetime, or once in, a few years, little crash you have, that's what the insurance is doing. So you're not setting out to use the product. You're setting out to, have the comfort that you can go about your daily life with the comfort of knowing that if something happens, you're okay, your family's safe, you've got that covered. But you're not looking to die early, not really. So you don't use the product. So that's the sort of difficult sell, if you like, for this product. And that becomes a cultural thing that people do. You have to sort of change people in the idea of insurance is a good idea. It's good to have your house insured in case something happens. It's good to have your life insured in case you die early. it's a good thing to do that. It's good for your family. It's good for your business to have these things done. And you buy a little policy. Hopefully, it won't happen, but it's in the bank, as it were. So
No,
that's got to happen
absolutely.
as well.
Yeah. No, I kind of align, to what you just mentioned. I think it's not only about insurance, and when we talk about how do we really bridge the protection gap in India, it's going to be how do we make it easy, how do we distribute it,
Mm.
because it's a less understood product, and like you said that if you sell to 199 claim, that's not insurance, right? So
Mm.
uh, I think somewhere there has to be a technology layer, and there has to be some kind of an embedded technology. I think that's where your
Yeah.
company is doing some work. So at this point, let me ask you: is there any kind of a working model that maybe your company has developed, which you can share or talk about,
Yeah.
at this point?
Yeah. So we're protecting. We've got a product where we protect the small merchants across India from the effects of the environment, like a flood or something. So, all the little resellers on the streets and in the little shops, and they all have a card machine, that they use, and uh, and more and more transactions in India are going digital. So this seemed to us as a good way of getting to the vendors. So how do you sell, 30 million policies, if you like, to these merchants? It's very tricky to do that. So what we did is we've partnered with one of the payment machines companies. So on everybody's desk, every shop, they've all got them. So they've got that distribution already. They've got 3, 4, 5, 10, 30 million merchants already hooked up. So what we said is that what they want to do is protect their income. So if there's a flood, uh, in their street, in their village, in part of in that part of the city, for those 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 days, they lose all their income, and that doesn't help them, and it makes their life very difficult, and they might even take risks to carry on selling, or they might have to go and do something else and not sell that product or that service, and put them out of business. So what we done is sort about, well, okay, income protection is their sort of key concern during these times. So what we do is we have, so if the merchant suffers a loss during a flood, then we get their last sort of five or so days transactions, and if it drops below like 25% of those 5 days, we make them a payment to make up that money. So very simple transaction. And then what we've done is we hooked up with a company that can look at where it is flooding, and that pinpoints that this group of merchants are available to make a claim. So and then so we've got this sort of 2-trigger system. And it's not just, oh, if it rains, here's some money, because of you're also then paying to people that don't need it, maybe because they're on the second floor of the building, not in the basement, so they haven't been affected by the flood. If you like, the people in the basement is where you need to focus on, as it were. So we have this 2-trigger system. One is, yes, there has been a flood in your area, so that makes it available. And then the second trigger is, how have you been affected by the flood? So we measure their transactions over the previous 5 days and the next 5 days, and then make a payment. So that's very, so we sort of simplified the product to just say, if there's a difference, we pay you. So it's a very simple product. And then we've used technology from the company monitoring the weather, and then also the payment company who've got all their technology. We've integrated into that that makes a very simple product for the merchants, and then it's obviously distributed through the merchant network. So that's kind of a real example of how it can work in India.
Okay, no, makes sense, because I think this is also, as I can understand, is targeting, that completely underserved, section of India, which is largely using digital technology, and you're trying to, make a way to use their own digital technology that they have access to
Yeah.
kind of talk about not insurance, but something that is a potential risk, and how do you really protect yourself at that point in time. And and there's a brilliant and beautiful solution. And I think somewhere by doing a little bit of collaboration with some other allied firms, you are able to make it more simple from a claims process. And I think that's where I think your company is really innovating, and that's really nice to know, Harry. So Harry, what would you really say about the entire Insurtech community that today is there in India, and doing work, and they're on the India Insurtech Association forum. What would you like to share as a message for the community?
Yeah, so I would, this is really, the thing I would say is that something you actually just said a second ago is that, people don't buy insurance, and typically people don't care about technology. And then we've got an association or a group of people who've got those two things together, but nobody cares about it necessarily. So what you have to do is you have to focus, the messaging should be more about, like, why is insurance, what is it you want to protect in your life? What do you care about most? And make sure that when you're building technology and insurance, to make sure that you're focused on something that people care about and they want first, not your idea that is, probably brilliant, but then do people want to buy it? Or is the technology really great, but how do you integrate it into an insurance company? How do you get, Tata, if you like, to actually integrate with you in one of these great big insurance companies? It takes months, and it's painful. So you've got to really, I think, focus on what people want and how they're already using it. So, obviously embedding it into like mobile phone apps, embedding it, using the phone, using QR codes, things that the people already use and they already think are cool and good and useful. Just put it in there, and then the insurance, make sure that the insurance is something that the actual person cares about and wants, and you've done that first. So it's do a lot of homework and a lot of thinking, a lot of understanding your customers before you build the technology, and then make sure you understand the insurance before you build the technology. The technology comes last. The automation comes last, not first. It's last. And that's the sort of thing I would say to people, is really get a deep understanding of the customers, the need, the thing they want, how it works, and then build, then later build the technology. But also in the middle there, make sure the insurance carrier, the insurance component, the insurance people are fully on board, and it's been simplified as much as possible, in order then you build the technology and it's all fully automated, embedded, and then that will work.
Absolutely. And Harry, I think these are golden words of advice, which I expect the larger IIA community members would basically take certain cues from. It's been wonderful talking to you, Harry, on this podcast. Great to know about what your company does and how you are innovating in the space of embedded technology. And it's great to also know that you have a working model in place in India. And I hope you get great success there, and kind of create a blueprint for the larger community to take example of, and then kind of build it on from there. So thank you so much, Harry, for joining us today. And that's all that we'll have time for today. Thank you so much. And until we meet next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.